Welcome to Buffalo Pregame, your source for live Buffalo football discussion, news, analysis, opinions, and more. Presented by ASM Publications and Bills Digest.
All right, let's try this again. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Buffalo Pregame. I'm your host, Alex Brasky, here for ASM Publications and Bills Digest. On tonight's show, final thoughts on the Bills' thrilling Week 1 win over the Baltimore Ravens. Who's trending up? Who has some work to do entering Week 2? We will discuss, while also taking a look ahead to Buffalo's matchup with the New York Jets coming up on Sunday afternoon. And we are trying again as the first go-around on this episode. I had to shut it down, had some connection issues, but hoping for smooth sailing moving forward. And if you are indeed listening, you can tell that I'm playing a bit hurt today, and that's the reason why it took me so long to reflect upon this game on the audio side, as I attended Sunday's thrilling win over the Baltimore Ravens and thoroughly enjoyed myself cheering on the team from the stands. And with that comes a little bit of injury on Monday morning, and in this case, spreading in to Tuesday, as I really wasn't able to talk at all until midway through the day. Today, got some honey, got some tea, and was able to rework the vocal cords and finally able to provide a bit of reflection from what was a phenomenal night inside Highmark Stadium. I'm sure plenty of you have already heard it all from everybody who covers the team, but hey, we'll do it one more time here on Buffalo Pregame as we'll discuss that Week 1 win and, like I said, move ahead into the second week of the regular season. But each week on Buffalo Pregame, I'll provide updates on the NFL, NHL, and more via daily articles, podcast videos, and more. Please subscribe to Buffalo Pregame with Alex Brasky on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, along with Buffalo Pregame with Alex Brasky's Substack page, both of which are free of charge. All right, let's get into it. What more needs to be said than Josh Allen in the fourth quarter during winning time? He's the best quarterback in the league, and he proved it once again on Sunday night. Just a phenomenal fourth quarter for Josh Allen. I'm sure it's been said time and again, but 16 of 21, 251, 3 total TDs. That's a game for most quarterbacks, and that's really a lot of quarterbacks' probably career best performance when they come into the NFL. But Josh Allen just getting it done time and again, and I felt the Bills were a little bit conservative for too long in this game. I understand the game plan going into a game against the Ravens for the Bills has typically been try to wear them down with your running game. They have one of the best secondaries in the league, 2 talented safeties, and Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks make things very, very difficult for opposing offenses to throw the ball. But when you have a guy like Josh Allen, you have a unicorn at quarterback, you have to let him roam free. And finally, that's what Joe Brady allowed Josh Allen to do in the fourth quarter. A lot of my yelling from the stands was trying to prod Joe Brady to let Josh Allen throw the ball, and not just throw the ball, but throw the ball downfield. And we saw the fruits of that come to fruition, I should say, come late in that game. And as soon as they took the training wheels off Josh Allen and this offense, it really transformed back into that high-powered machine that it's been throughout the course of the past several years. I mean, that fourth quarter, my goodness gracious, I'm not sure we'll see anything like it ever again at the NFL level. I wrote an article for Buffalo Bills on SI that you can find on SI.com explaining how this win might signal that the Bills may finally have luck on their side. And I don't want to take anything away from Josh Allen's performance. He was phenomenal. He was the primary catalyst for the win in this one. But look at all the breaks that the Bills got in the fourth quarter to go their way. It's just something that over the years of watching this team, you expect these things to go the opposite way. But indeed, they go the Bills' way, and they come away with the win. It all started with Tyler Loop, the Ravens kicker, missing their the PAT that would have put the Ravens ahead by 16 instead of 15 early in the fourth quarter. And after watching Harrison Butker sprint onto the field and seemingly nail every kick from every yardage under the sun against the Bills late in games to beat them, it was amazing to see an opposing kicker trot onto the field and miss a kick of high significance. And then on the next Ravens drive, more kicking / punting hijinks for the Ravens, as Jordan Stout's punt being close to inside the 5. Instead, it's a touchback as I forget who it was, number 32 for the Ravens, comes sliding in, and his right hand ever so slightly grazes the goal line, and the officials see it and make the correct call. I give him a lot of credit, but it's such a close call. And one, if, like I said, if you've been watching the Bills for years, you know that these calls don't typically go the Bills' way. And Ravens fans were on Twitter after that call was made complaining about it. But when you slow it down and you look at number 32's right hand graze that goal line, it was in fact the right call made by the officials, but just surprising to see something like that go the Bills' way. And then Keon Coleman's touchdown catch, the tip from Dalton Kincaid near the goal line, Coleman diving after it, just making an unbelievably clutch play and kind of fortunate and lucky play, right? If you're looking at it, the ball deflected into the end zone and Coleman coming away with that touchdown, just an incredibly clutch and favorable catch to come away with for Keon Coleman. And then finally, Kyle Hamilton jumping over the line of scrimmage, bursting into the backfield untouched, nearly blocking Matt Prater's game-winning field goal. It looked like if you zoom in on it and you slow it down, it looked like Hamilton may have even got a finger on that ball. So for that kick to soar through the uprights, another fortunate situation for the Bills after a breakdown up front in terms of blocking Hamilton's way into the backfield. So Josh Allen was masterful in this game. And of course, he was the primary catalyst for this win. Nothing to take away from him. But when you look at the amount of plays that went the Bills' way in this one, and you also had that play in the first half, I think it was, right before the gun, where the Ravens start sprinting into the locker room and the officials come together, put 1 second back on the clock, another call that goes the Bills' way and leads to points, a field goal to beat the buzzer. So what great mojo this team is riding early in the year. I know that perhaps many of you out there don't believe in that kind of thing, don't believe in momentum, mojo, luck, whatever you want to call it. But hey, it can't hurt, right? And it really seemed like the Bills got an incredible number of calls to go their way in this game. And not only calls, just clutch situations and things that define the margins in the game. And the Bills were able to make the plays late in the game. They really gave up a ton defensively, and we'll get to that later. But let's touch on Keon Coleman's performance in this game. Just a phenomenal effort from the second-year wide receiver and really confirming everything that we saw from him throughout training camp and the preseason. It seemed like the Bills were force-feeding him at times throughout the offseason program, training camp, the preseason, but also plenty of that was just a factor of the Bills being without so many of their receivers due to injury throughout the course of the offseason. So Coleman really benefiting from that high-volume workload that he received during training camp, preseason, etc. And he finishes this game with a team-high 8 receptions, 112 yards, a touchdown, and he showed he's going to be a guy in this league. He's going to be a problem. There were some separation stats out there that didn't portray him in a favorable light, but if you watch the tape, Keon Coleman was getting open enough to come away with those 8 receptions for 112 yards and that diving catch for a touchdown. And I saw somebody tweet it out. I apologize. I can't remember who it was, but perhaps what Josh Allen needed and saw in Keon Coleman when he wanted the Bills to draft him coming out of college was this is somebody that can kind of go off script with Allen throughout the course of a game. And we all know that's when Allen is at his best in the 2-minute drill, when the Bills are going up tempo, speeding things up. And he's needed someone, I think, within that receiving core to kind of go tit for tat with him in that respect. And we saw that from Coleman in this game, able to get open at the right time and come away with that touchdown grab. And he was iced out with Scott Van Pelt on SportsCenter after the game. And that just further shows the big time wide receiver 1 energy that Coleman is just protruding early on this season. And the passing game, I thought, worked out very similar to how I thought it would, pretty much exactly how I thought it would. A lot of Coleman, a lot of Shakir, Joshua Palmer, Dalton Kincaid, and then everybody else just kind of filtering in and picking up the scraps, for the lack of a better phrase. And go Bills from Slick Beats on YouTube. Feel free to comment, like, share, subscribe on YouTube. But That's what it's going to be this year. It's not going to be as much everybody eats 4 or 5 wide receivers or pass catchers deep from game to game. You're going to see that big 4 really kind of attract a lot of those targets. Sorry, I had a little technical thing there in this passing game. And I think that's going to benefit the Bills greatly. And you saw Kincaid's rapport with Josh Allen really developing in this game. All 4 of his targets go for catches. And that wasn't something that you could always take for granted last year. That was a little bit of trouble that Josh Allen and Dalton Kincaid had in terms of connecting down the field. And you heard Josh Allen talk about it throughout this offseason, how he has to be better for Dalton Kincaid and put him in better positions to come away with these receptions. And he certainly seemed to do so on Sunday night against the Baltimore Ravens. So like I said, 4 catches, 48 yards for Dalton Kincaid. Also came away with a touchdown. Just a really phenomenal fourth quarter for this passing game once Joe Brady allowed it to get going. And it makes you think, should he, that being Joe Brady, elect to go to the hurry up and that tempo play a little bit more often with Josh Allen? I know you have James Cook. I know the balance has worked for you these past couple of years, but Josh Allen's the MVP of this league. And when you get in these tough matchups against tough defenses like the Baltimore Ravens, you have to unleash him. That's the only way you're going to be able to win these big games. And you saw it in that fourth quarter. Just phenomenal from Josh Allen and really the offense as a whole. But let's get to the defensive side of things. Before we do, actually, let's highlight Jackson Hawes' huge reception of 29 yards. Brings it down to, I believe, the 1-yard line, helped set up one of the Bills' fourth quarter touchdowns. He played 16 snaps in this game, basically taking Alec Anderson's role as a 6th offensive lineman and coming away with that juggling catch, proving himself to be the passing game threat that the Bills would hope he would prove himself to be, as that brings a little bit more of an extra dynamic to this Bills offense. Rather than throwing out an extra offensive lineman in those jumbo situations, you throw out a phenomenal pass blocking tight end, and you saw it show up on the film. And if he's able to make those catches down the field, that really makes an opposing defense honor that and makes those packages a little bit more effective as a result. So I couldn't have imagined a better start for Jackson Hawes. I thought he was great in the blocking game. And of course, that 29-yard reception down the field, just a phenomenal catch from him. He seems to be mature beyond his years. Even hear him speak after the game to the media. Just great stuff from Jackson Hawes in this one. And then another rookie, Dorian Strong, and we'll finally move to the defensive side. Strong playing 100% of the snaps in this game, and per Next Gen Stats, he didn't allow a reception. He was called for a holding penalty early in the game that negated a sack, but I thought it was a questionable call, and overall a good start for Dorian Strong. And I saw this coming. I don't want to toot my own horn, but early on in training camp, I was touting Dorian Strong as a future starter in the NFL, and not that it came the way where he forced his way onto the field. The Bills couldn't keep him off of it, kind of how I said during training camp. It really came more of as a result of injury to Maxwell Harrison and Trey White. But still, I thought Dorian Strong afforded himself very, very, very well in this game and really sets the stage to provide the Bills with a nice depth piece. And who knows, maybe he challenges Trey White for some starter snaps, even once Trey White is healthy. But no rotation here. You didn't see Jamarcus Ingram filtering in and out for him. You saw Dorian Strong holding down the starting cornerback role, and I thought it was a very, very impressive day for the rookie. We'll learn more about Tre'Davious White's status on Wednesday when the Bills return to practice. He didn't practice at all last week, hasn't practiced at all the past several weeks. So in order to play against the Jets, you're going to have to see Tre'Davious White return to practice this week. If not, it's going to be more Dorian Strong in week 2. But there wasn't much to write home about in terms of the other rookies in this game. You had TJ Sanders and Deion Walker along the defensive line, I believe playing about 20% of the snaps apiece. And the Bills' defensive line struggled outside of Ed Oliver overall. Everybody up front really didn't have their best day. But when you look at the two rookies individually, I think Walker's a little bit ahead of Sanders at this time. And Sanders has that pass rushing ability, but a little bit undersized. I think he's going to find it difficult when he's matched up against talented offensive linemen. Got matched up against Tyler Linderbaum often against the Baltimore Ravens. So you're going to have to see more from these two moving forward if this defensive line is going to take the step that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott wanted it to in terms of the additions it made during the offseason. But at the same time, Joey Bosa, a few flashes in this game, but left a little bit to be desired. Greg Rousseau, once again, just I find myself game after game just wanting more from Greg Rousseau and just didn't get it in this game. And you have Larry Ogunjobi coming back after 6 weeks. You do have Michael Hoyt as well. So you do have two kind of midseason additions waiting in the wings. But at the same time, you would have liked to see a little bit more from the two rookies in this game. And do I think Zion Logue gets a call up to help with a run game this week? Dave asks on X. I thought that there was a chance that we would see that this past week. The Bills elected not to bring up either Jordan Phillips or Zion Logue from the practice squad. Instead, they went with 52 players in this game, keeping Matt Prater, that is, as a practice squad elevation for financial reasons. So now that Prater has been elevated to the 53-man roster, and the Bills still have one open practice squad spot available, but their 53-man roster set, I think you might see one of those defensive tackles moved up this week. But at the same time, they really ran the Bills with Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones very often in this game. And much like Greg Rousseau and much more to a fever pitch with Daquan Jones, he's just not making an impact anymore at this stage of his career. He played the same number of snaps as Ed Oliver in this game, but he came away with one tackle. You're starting one technique in a game where you're going up against one of the best rushing attacks in the league, and Daquan Jones comes away with pretty much a disappearing act in this game. You need a better start from him. There's no other way around it. And I think once Larry Ogunjobi comes back, I initially thought you might see him cut with Dwayne Carter when he was still healthy. But now looking at Daquan Jones and what he's able to offer at this stage of his career, the Bills need to do something up front, and they need to figure it out. And it's a tough line to walk because this was the focus throughout the whole offseason, right? The defensive line, you spend all that capital and you just did not see that progression that you wanted to in week one. It's a long season. The Bills have a soft schedule coming up, so a lot of room to grow for this group. But very disappointing effort from this group. They let the Ravens rush for over 200 yards, and that's exactly what Derrick Henry and the Ravens came in trying to do. So you're not able to stop a team at what they're able to do best. And Lamar Jackson found room to run in this game as well, going for 70 yards. We have Will Foreman. Bills look good. Let's go Chiefs. A little bit of a troll there from Will Foreman. I guess we'll let it slide. But yeah, overall, just an extremely disappointing day from the defense. And as I mentioned, it all started up front, but it kind of spread throughout the next two levels. You look at linebacker with Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard, not their best games that they've put on tape in their career. And Eric Turner of Cover One tweeting out tonight that when he watches the game back, he says he believes that Terrell Bernard may be playing through that hamstring injury that he's sustained during training camp, was able to come back from it, get ready for week one. But Eric Turner in his film analysis saying that Terrell Bernard just does not look like Terrell Bernard out there. And of all the excitement that was surrounding Matt Milano entering week one, you also didn't see much from the former All-Pro in this game either. Once again, it's a tough matchup against the Baltimore Ravens, and when your defensive line isn't clearing anything up front outside of what Oliver was able to do, it's going to make a tough day for your linebackers and men in the secondary. But at the same time, just so much room for improvement from this defensive unit. And we'll see when the injury report comes out. If Terrell Bernard's dealing with an injury, that would be bad news for the Bills. But finally, it was the secondary also not showing well in this game. You had Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop looking lost out there at times at the safety position. And this is going to be a long year if neither of them can get it together. I think the Bills were kind of hoping on and praying that Cole Bishop was going to be able to figure it out on the fly throughout the course of this year. But his game against the Ravens left a lot to be desired. He had that play where he was blitzing from the opposite end zone. And I know that the Ravens did a lot in this game to kind of thwart the Bills' disguise defensively, something that the Bills do really well, disguising those blitzes and making it tough on opposing quarterbacks. But the Ravens were snapping the ball quick and making it tough for the Bills to do that. And that really hurt Cole Bishop on that play where Chris Collinsworth remarked that you really never see a safety blitz from that deep. But I think it was just a matter of Bishop getting caught out of position. And then Taylor Rapp took some bad angles in this game, allowed 10, 20-yard runs. It turned into 30-yard runs for Derrick Henry. So just all in all, defensively, just a whole lot to work on this week. And Bobby Babich seems aware of it, but at the same time, when do you start to get concerned about Bobby Babich and the way that he's calling this defense? Because you just haven't seen the results in big games these past 2 years. And I don't know how much this matters, but just something I was thinking watching the game. Babich calls the defense from up top in the press box. And I think you see a lot of defensive coordinators call from the field, especially in comparison, defensive coordinators to offensive coordinators. And I'm just wondering if perhaps he may benefit more from being down on the field, being able to discuss. I know they have the headset, but just being down there with the guys and being down there in the mix may bring a nice welcomed change for Bobby Babich and the defensive staff. Just something I figured I'd throw out there. But just it just goes to show you how tough of a day it was for the defense. Even Christian Benford was beaten for a touchdown in this game, and it came on a really nice catch from DeAndre Hopkins. Benford commented after the game, let's see him do that again if we meet a second time around. But just overall, a porous effort from the defense, and one that leaves you pretty concerned heading in to week 2. And the reason why it's so concerning is a lot of the warts that you knew this defense had coming into the season reared their ugly head on Sunday night. The rush defense, the defensive line, the safety position, all of those elements of the Bills defense that you were worried about and looking for the Bills to take a step forward in, boy, it looked like they took a step back in this game. And T-Jab saying it's time to consider getting Christian Wilkins, first rounder from national championship team Clemson, very dominant defensive lineman. Unfortunately, a bad history with Josh. And yeah, I wouldn't say that would be the end all be all, his situation with Josh Allen, how those two seem to develop a rivalry on the field. But I'm not sure you want to bring a player like that into such an established culture as the Bills. When you're pursuing a Super Bowl title, you don't want personalities that are going to come in and upset the apple cart. And that seems exactly what Christian Wilkins may do if the Bills brought him in. But John Robert, defense should get better and needs to get better. Except for the penalty, Dorian Strong did not play bad for a rookie. I absolutely agree. So far, the Bills' defense is rated number 32 in the league from T-Jab. And, yeah, I mean, you watch that game back and you try to find positives, right? The team puts up 40 points against you. Obviously, wasn't a good day for the defense. So you're searching for positives, and there just weren't many to find in this game. From all levels of the defense, just a really, really rough day. And this is one of the best offenses in the league in the Baltimore Ravens. So you're, like I said, over the next 8 weeks, you're going to have time to kind of settle in as a defense and get ready for that Chiefs game coming out of that Carolina matchup after the bye. So a lot of work to do for this Bills defense, a lot of time to get it done, but plenty of concern coming out of this game. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. I know the ending of the game really made a lot of people view this as all positive, but it wasn't all positive to take away from the Bills win over the Ravens on Sunday night. And Shraboni, glad some of the TV analysts at least know Ed Oliver's name now, acknowledging the fumble was forced and wasn't gifted to us by Derrick Henry. Yeah, not everything was gifted in this game, but as I said off the top, you look at all those breaks that the Bills got in this game, you have to like how that bodes for you going down the stretch here. Tyler Loop missing the PAT. Jordan Stout's punt being downed as a touchback instead of inside the 5. Keon Coleman coming away with the tip touchdown pass. Kyle Hamilton getting a finger graze on the game-winning field goal, but not blocking it. So a lot of things went right for the Bills in this game, and they're hoping to carry that good mojo into their Week 2 matchup with the New York Jets. But when you look ahead to this Week 2 matchup, the Jets played extremely well offensively against the Steelers. They ran the ball really well. Justin Fields looked fairly comfortable in the pocket as well. And you look at the stats, Breece Hall, 19 carries, 107 yards, You also had Justin Fields, 12 carries, 48 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Fields also threw for 218 yards and a score. The Jets defense looked atrocious in this game, which was somewhat of a surprise with Aaron Glenn coming in there and going up against the ghost of Aaron Rodgers' past. But if you play another game like you did defensively against the Ravens, you might get run out of the building against a team in the New York Jets that you were expected to run away from within the division. And yes, they are 0-1 going into this game, but if they even things up at 1-1, that certainly starts to become a concern. And they let Pittsburgh score 1 million points in this game, but that offensive effort from the Jets, very, very encouraging, and one that the Bills are going to have to keep their eye on heading in to this game. But just a few news and notes from Tuesday afternoon before we officially move forward into week 2. And if you caught on late in this episode, you might hear my voice is a little warped, and that's why it took me so long to reflect on this game. I went to the game on Sunday and lost my voice for the last couple of days, so glad to be back, but still working through some mechanical issues on my side. So a few news and notes from the following days after that Bills victory. You have the Bills signing a new punter on Tuesday. They bring in Cameron Johnston, a booming leg. He took some time with the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. Before that, I think he was with the Houston Texans and another team. But Cameron Johnston is your new Bills punter. Brad Robbins was the worst punter in the league in week 1 in terms of EPA per punt. So a quick change by the Bills, and one that I think was a little bit easier to make considering Tyler Bass is on injured reserve. You don't have to worry about disrupting the rapport between Bass and his holder. You're going to welcome Bass back once he's healthy enough to do so off the injured reserve. But right now, it's Matt Prater, and I'm not so sure 4 days of working with Brad Robbins really amounted to anything. So switching it at this time, bringing in Cameron Johnston, who appears to have won somewhat of a competition on Tuesday, as the Bills brought in 3 different punters for workouts, along with 6 defensive players to perhaps fulfill that one practice squad opening that was left by Matt Prater going to the 53-man roster. They also brought in a long snapper, did the Bills, but as Greg Tomsett pointed out, Greg Tomsett of Cover One, as he pointed out on X, that was likely just to manage Reed Ferguson's workload during the tryout today, bringing in 3 different punters. You don't want Reed Ferguson down there snapping the ball 1 million times, so you bring in a long snapper. It was a Buffalo State long snapper. I forget the young man's name, so please forgive me, but I think that was really why the Bills elected to do that this afternoon. So I think that's going to about do it for this episode. Thank you for sticking with me throughout the course of the week, as I had some voice issues, but good to be back and good to look forward to week 2 with a win under the Bills' belt. Their next 8 opponents all started the season 0-1. So the Bills' favorable schedule looks to be even more favorable moving forward when you look at opposing records. So a lot to look forward to this week. Please like, share, and subscribe. We see Shabroni here commenting again. Josh Allen's slide was a first down. We gifted them that by not challenging. Yeah, we know Sean McDermott is not the best challenger, but let me finish this here. I think Sean McDermott proved everyone's going to get wrapped up in the defensive performance and blame Sean McDermott for it, and I totally understand that. But when you come back from 15 points down in the fourth quarter like that, you're the first team in NFL history, or one of the first teams in NFL history to do so. That just goes to show you how great of a coach Sean McDermott is. He doesn't let this team quit. No matter the circumstance, this team is always ready to play. And, of course, you have to give Josh Allen a lot of that credit as well. When players know that they have a talented player like that coming in at quarterback, they always have faith that they can win the game. But Sean McDermott preaches to his team resilience, 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 and they embodied that on Sunday against the Baltimore Ravens. But as John Robert always likes to remind, please like and share. Also, subscribe to the channel, Buffalo Pregame with Alex Brasky. Thank you for everybody who tuned in tonight, a late night on a Tuesday. We're going to get back to it tomorrow when the Bills return to practice at 1 Bills Drive. But thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.